The lighthouse that never existed. I still wake up at 3 in the morning. Exactly 3, not 2, not 4. 3 on the dot. And the first thing I do is look out the window. Check if there's a light out there. There never is. But I check anyway. It started 2 years ago, when I was working as a navigator on a small research vessel called the Verity. We were running a standard route along the northern coastline, shallow water mapping, current data collection, dull work. I loved it for exactly that reason. The sea, instruments, numbers. No surprises. The first surprise came on the third night. I was sitting at the navigation table around midnight when Simmons, our second mate, walked into the wheelhouse with a tablet in his hands and a strange expression on his face. Not frightened, more puzzled. Like a man who has solved an equation twice and gotten the wrong answer both times. "Did you cross-reference the charts with the Lighthouse database?" he asked. I had. Always did. Professional habit. Something wrong? He set the tablet down in front of me and pressed his finger to a point on the electronic chart. Coordinates: 68 degrees, 14 north latitude, 14 degrees, 37 east longitude. Right at a rocky headland we had passed about 3 hours earlier. On the chart, a lighthouse was marked there. The notation was old, the kind of symbology used in atlases from the 70s. A white diamond with a dot at the center and a label. Cape Verde. Lighthouse operational. Occulting white foresec. I looked at that shoreline through binoculars, said Simmons quietly. There's nothing there, just rocks and fog. No lighthouse. I shrugged. Errors in old charts were common enough. Probably demolished 40 years ago, or never finished. I made a note and closed the matter. But Simmons didn't leave. I checked 3 independent databases, he said. The Norwegian Maritime Registry, the IALA database, the Coast Guard Archive. It's in all of them, listed as operational in every one. Last maintenance inspection, 7 months ago. I looked at him more carefully. 7 months ago, someone went out to service a lighthouse that doesn't exist? Simmons nodded, and that was the first time I felt it cold and slick, like seaweed on a rock. Something didn't add up. Something was wrong with the very shape of the information. I put in a request to the Coast Guard. The reply came in the morning, polite, brief, completely useless. The lighthouse at Cape Verde was listed in the registry. Technical inspections were conducted regularly. No issues on record. If we had questions regarding navigational provisions in the area, we were welcome to contact the regional office. Captain Hargrove read through the exchange and said it was probably a bureaucratic anomaly. Object in the registry, but physically decommissioned. Paperwork never updated. It happens. I agreed with him out loud. That night, I pulled out the paper sailing directions. Old ones, published in 1971, the kind kept on board for backup, and found the same lighthouse, same coordinates, same characteristic occulting, white, 4 seconds, and in the margin of the page in pencil, in someone's handwriting, 3 words had been written in Norwegian. Do not look at night. The following evening, we dropped anchor in a small bay roughly 12 miles from Cape Verde. A scheduled stop, standard procedure. I went out on deck around 11 just to get some air. The sky was clear and full of stars, and the cold air smelled of salt and something else. Something I couldn't name. A little like ozone after a storm. A little like wet stone in an enclosed space. I looked toward the headland, and I saw the light. A slow, even pulse above the line of rocks. White, about 4 seconds between flashes. My hands went cold before I had time to register it consciously. I raised my binoculars. Rocks. Fog drifting low over the water. The light, again steady, calm, unhurried. But no tower. No structure of any kind. Just light hanging above the dark stone as though it required no source at all. I went and woke Simmons. We stood on deck together and looked through our binoculars for about 10 minutes without speaking. The light didn't change, didn't move. 4 seconds flash, 4 seconds flash, perfectly mechanical. Could be someone on shore, said Simmons at last. His voice was level. Too level the way people speak when they don't believe what they're saying. There's no place for a person on those rocks, I said. I saw them in daylight. Sheer walls straight into the water. Simmons lowered his binoculars. I can hear something, he said quietly. I listened. At first only the wind and the soft lap of water against the hull. Then something else. Low, at the threshold of hearing. Almost infrasound, felt in the chest more than heard by the ears. Rhythmic, regular, as though something were breathing. Very slowly, very deeply. We both went back inside without discussing it. In the morning, I found an entry in the ship's log that I had not written. The handwriting looked like mine. Very much like mine, the same slant, the same characteristic loops on certain letters, but I had not written it. I was certain of that, the way you are only certain of very few things. The entry read, 247, visual contact with navigational light, Cape Verde. Characteristic matches registry, no anomalies observed. I sat for a long time and stared at those lines. Then I went into the archives. I had a laptop with a fairly large database on the history of navigation in the area, something I had assembled gradually out of interest. I found a reference to Cape Verde in a report from the Norwegian Hydrographic Service dated 1962, a standard technical document, dry language, tables of depth soundings. At the end, a short paragraph that didn't fit the tone of the rest, as though it had been added by a different person, or by the same person in a different state of mind. Expedition personnel report observing a navigational light at a location where no lighthouse was completed or planned. The phenomenon was observed over 3 nights. On the 4th night, 3 crew members lowered a dinghy without the commander's authorization and proceeded toward the headland. The dinghy was recovered the following day, approximately 3 miles to the north. The crew of the dinghy were not found. Investigation revealed no cause for the incident. Recommendation: exclude this quadrant from night navigation routes. A recommendation, not a warning, not a prohibition, a recommendation. 3 people vanished, and someone wrote a recommendation. That night I did not sleep. I lay in my cabin and listened to the vessel creak and roll. Familiar sounds, known sounds, but behind them or beneath them, that low rhythmic vibration again, as though something vast and sleeping was breathing beneath us, beneath the dark water. Around 3 in the morning, I felt that I needed to go out on deck. I didn't want to. I lay there and observed the feeling from a distance, the way you watch a stranger. There it was, the urge to get up, get dressed, go outside, look at the light. I didn't go. I gripped the edges of the mattress, and I didn't go. I don't know how long it lasted. An hour. Maybe more. I didn't go. Maybe more. In the morning, I found that 2 of my fingernails had broken. I had been holding the mattress that tightly. I asked the captain to alter our course, gave him a technical rationale route recalculation. He agreed without questions. Then I noticed he hadn't looked me in the eyes during the entire conversation, and that his hands, resting flat on the chart, were completely motionless. unnaturally, rigidly still, as though he too was holding something back. We left the anchorage by midday. When Cape Verde disappeared below the horizon, the vibration stopped. Simply ceased, as though someone had switched off a device I couldn't see, but had been feeling the entire time. 3. I resigned a week after we returned to port. Said it was a family matter. No one asked for details. I tried to find Simmons a few months later. I wanted to talk. Just talk with someone who had also heard it and seen it. Colleagues told me he had taken leave immediately after the voyage and never came back. Not answering messages. Phone out of service. I found a forum, narrow, technical, for navigators and hydrographers. In one of the older threads, people were discussing anomalies in Lighthouse registries. Someone had asked about Cape Verde. The thread ran to 16 replies and then stopped. The last post was from a user called K. Halvorsen, 1987. He had written only one sentence: "I saw it too, and it saw me." The post was dated 3 years ago. That user had written nothing since. I stared at the screen for a long time. Then I closed the laptop, went to bed, and woke up at 3 in the morning. Looked out the window. Beyond the glass was my yard, a street lamp on its pole, a neighbor's fence. Everything ordinary, everything familiar. But somewhere deep in my chest, at the same frequency as back then, in that anchorage, I felt it again. That slow, rhythmic vibration. Barely perceptible, almost impossible to catch. As though something that learned to recognize me once has never stopped knowing where I am.